Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to go over how to play the French Tarrasch variation. Alright, this is a very good one. We're going to go over some basic moves and then a bonus game showing how, well, even tactical players like to play this. And here we see one of the best tacticians, we got Michael Tao. So let's go and take a look at some basic ideas for this opening and then go over the game. Alright, here we're going to go and start with e4. E6, D4, D5, we got our French defense right here. And here we're going to go and see knight to D2 gets played here. And this is known as the Tarrasch defense. Now here, this is done particularly because, well, if you play the knight to C3, I'll be going over this later, the Paulson variation. Here, black has a very deadly bishop to B4, the Winnavar variation. Now, if I can play the Winnavar variation as black every time, I would play the French defense exclusively. I think that there's plenty of play in this line right here. With that being said, this is the Tarrasch, so if you do try to play this knight to d2, bishop b4, this is played particularly to stop this idea, so you could just play pawn c3, and here white is already better. And here, well, there's a few different lines that you will have to take a look at. One of them being, well, there's the accepted. You can just go ahead and take on e4 here, which, well, I don't really like too much, and, well, the stats are behind me. Here, black is at a dismal 50% win rate, and white is at 38%. This is going to give white a good game because, well, a lot of white players like to attack in the French, and why wouldn't they? Your bishop is bad over here, and you can build up very strong kingside attacks. So something like knight takes on e4, and, well, there's already little traps you can fall for in these kind of lines here too. Knight f6, knight takes, queen takes, and here just simple ideas. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop d3, bishop d6, bishop g5, and you can notice how, well, the queen is trapped here, and this was just very easy development here for white. So with that being said, let's go back here after the knight to d2. D takes e4 is away. I will not recommend this move as it is not the best. Here you're going to go ahead and play, at least in my opinion, knight to f6. Now you can also play pawn to c5 here too, and these are going to give equal lines here. Here white can play the most obvious move, pawn takes on d5, pawn takes on d5. And why is this obvious? Because here white is going to be giving black the isolated pawn. Well, I do like isolated pawns here, and, well, I will say black is equal in these positions, although some people just do not like to play isolated pawn, so if you don't, I will not recommend that, playing c5 right away, as they can just exchange right away and give you that isolated pawn. The other big move to play in this situation is the move I like to play, knight to f6, and here they usually go ahead and play pawn to e5 attacking the knight, and the knight can just jump back to d7 here, and pawn c5 will get played in the game. And this is actually what happens in the game that's going to be played right here. There's other moves that you can try in this situation. For instance, something like white has tried like pawn to c3, but I don't think this is anything that I would write home about. Here you can just go ahead and take the pawn, and, well, white is going to have to struggle to get back the pawn in this situation, and pawn c5 can actually try to give them an isolated pawn, and you the only pawn in the center. And that's a really big idea in the French defense. We're going to be using our wing pawns, the f and c pawns, to trade for the d and the e pawns, as we'll see in this game. Well, that's going to be it for as far as the easy ideas or opening ideas. Let's go and take a look at this nice game where we can see much more ideas with this. So, knight to d2 got played, knight to f6 attacks the pawn, pawn to e5, knight back to d7, bishop to d3. This Tarrasch variation is very interesting because, well, most of the time the knights are going to be on top of each other, and this one they can go ahead and play knight to e2 and then knight to f3. That's why this line is very popular with white players. And here white goes ahead and plays bishop d3, black plays pawn c5, pawn c3. Again, if you're not a well-known player to this, you might play something like knight to f3. Yes, this does defend the pawn, but the whole idea is to ruin the pawn center. So something like c takes d4 is going to be very good for black, because now these pawns are not defending each other. So white plays the common move here, pawn to c3. So if you do take, well, pawn just takes back. Okay, back to the game. Knight c6 got played, putting pressure on d4 and developing. Just remember, if you are a French player, the d4 pawn is one of our central targets, as most of your pieces are going to be developed to attack it, even the queen to b6, as we will see shortly. As I said earlier, the knight goes to e2 here. You could go to f3, which is another move, and it does defend the d4 pawn. But why have these knights overlapped on each other? The knight goes to f3, and this knight will now go to f3 here. I'm sorry, the knight goes to e2, and this other knight will go to f3 here. And you see they're not doubled up on each other. Let's keep developing and put pressure on the most important pawn. Here we play queen to b6. Knight to f3, white's completing their development. C takes on d4, C takes on d4, and here black goes for it, pawn to f6. There are variations with bishop to b4 check here, but here white has an amazing good move, king to f1 with a very good win ratio. It looks like this should be bad here, but well, the pieces are really set up nicely. White can play h4 and go for some nice kingside attacking ideas. But here black sticks to the main plan. It doesn't go for the bishop b4 check, but pawn to f6. Remember, black is trying to trade off the f pawn and the c pawn for these pawns over here. And well, there's nothing really better. If you don't take, then we will take, winning a pawn, or at least giving us a pass d pawn. So white went ahead and played pawn takes, knight takes. And you can see why a lot of people like this as black. Look at this. You got these very dynamic pawns right here. Your bishop can come out. Both bishops are looking good here, and castling will give an open f-file here. Now there are some weaknesses. As you can see, this is a backwards pawn, but here black is going to have a very fun attacking idea to get rid of this. Here we go. Castles happens. Bishop d6, knight c3, castles, rook to e1. Here we are going ahead and putting pressure on the e6 pawn, and I do hear someone saying, hey, is that a free pawn here on d4? Be careful of the very simple French defense trap. If you try to get greedy here and play knight takes on d4, you just joined the club for those that have lost like this, myself included at least one time in my life. After knight takes, queen takes, here we have, the simple check, bishop takes on h7, and now you're losing your queen. Don't fall for this and join the club. So, rook to e1 gets played, and here we just continue developing our pieces. Bishop d7, knight to b5, doesn't impress. Knight b5 is trying to attack the bishop, but here we're simply just retreat. Knight back, bishop back to d6, and bishop to g5. Of course, white did not want to play for a draw here. And, well, let's keep developing our pieces. Let's keep making threats. Rook over to e8. Wait a second. Can't we grab the pawn on b2? Be careful with grabbing the b2 pawn. In a lot of French games, yes, this is a good idea. But here, queen takes on b2 only allows them to, well, get a good position. Knight to a4, and queen goes to a3, bishop c1, queen b4, and here the final idea here, bishop to d2. And, well, this queen's just not doing well in this situation. And I don't know where she's going to be going next here. And white's definitely in control of this game. With that being said, rook to e8 got played. Rook over to e2, defending the pawn now. Knight to g4, and here the attack is going to start on the king side. Okay, white falls straight forward and plays pawn to h3, and now black has a splendid move here, or a very good one, which is very common in these kind of games. All right, black to move. Can you be like Tal and play this very nice sacrificial idea? All right, hopefully you push pause, try to figure it out. Here we get the very nice idea. I love to play it. Rook takes on f3. I use this idea all the time. This is a very common tactical idea to do. And here, well, if you don't take back, you're just losing. Here, g takes on f3. You can take on g4 here, but after g takes on h4, the same idea is going to get played. Knight takes on d4, and you can't take back, or else knight takes on f3 check, winning back the piece. So for the main line, we're going to go ahead and take a look at rook takes on f3, g takes on f3, and here was the idea. Knight to h2. Look at that beautiful move. Knight takes f3 is being threatened, and also knight takes d4. Here we're giving up the exchange so we can mess up the pawns. We're going to win the d4 pawn, hopefully, and by winning the d4 pawns, these pawns become mobile. Now, this bishop that is once bad will be one of the best pieces on the board. And who doesn't like sacrificing in their games? I love exchange sacrifices, which is when you give up usually a rook for a knight or a bishop. King to g2 got played, defending from this knight takes on f3 idea. But here we come, knight takes on d4, attacking the rook. Rook went to e3. Pawn to h6, attacking the bishop. The bishop really is having no good squares to go to. It has to run to h4. Bishop to f4. Bishop to g6, a little tempo off the rook. Bishop takes on e3. And bishop takes on e8. Okay, if you take back on e3 right here, simple chess. Now we get to play knight d takes on f3, bishop takes on e8, and knight takes on h4. And, well, this is just a very nice position here. King takes on h2, bishop takes on e2, e8 can get played with a better position. Queen takes on b2 can get played here. He's even looking at queen to d6 check, which is winning, but not the best route here. And let's go back to the game. So after bishop takes on e8, here we're going to go ahead and play knight takes on f3. You can see knight takes h4 check is again being threatened. And they went ahead and played Bishop takes on d7, and now the game is over. Knight takes on h4 check, king to f1, and now for a nice double threat, queen takes on b2. At this point, white went ahead and resigned. Dmitry did at this point. As you can see, the queen's doing a great job. Queen to f2 is checkmate. Queen takes on c3 is an idea. Oh gosh, they can't even take on e3 as you'll just be checkmated again. Queen to g2 check. King to e1. Knight to f3 check. Queen is forced to take. Knight takes, king to d1. Queen to d2 for check and mate. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this was a beginner's guide to playing the Tarrasch defense from the black setup. And, well, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.